The street lights flickered against the dusk as two little girls burst from a smoke-filled alley, barefoot, trembling, their cries slicing through the noise of the city. "Please, someone help. Mommy's trapped," one shouted, clutching a torn rabbit to her chest. Cars slowed, horns blared, but no one stopped. Not until a man in a faded work jacket hit the brakes so hard his truck skidded sideways. He didn't hesitate. He threw the door open and ran. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Let's begin. The late afternoon sky over Chicago bled orange and gray as Ryan Cooper tightened the last bolt on a client's porch railing. His hands were rough, the kind shaped by years of wood and work, but gentle when he picked up the phone to hear his son Ben's voice. "Dad, are you almost home? Mom's photo keeps falling again." Ryan smiled tiredly. "I'll fix it when I get back, buddy. Promise." He hung up, slid into his old pickup, and started toward the city. But fate had other plans. 2 blocks from home, he slammed on the brakes. 2 little girls, one barefoot, one clutching a stuffed rabbit, darted into the road, crying out, "Please, help. Mommy's trapped." Ryan jumped out before the engine even died. "Where?" "Down there," the older one shouted, pointing toward a narrow alley where smoke curled upward. Without hesitation, Ryan bolted toward the collapsing warehouse entrance. The smell of burning insulation hit him like a wave. Through the haze, he saw her, a woman pinned beneath a fallen shelf, trying to shield herself from sparks raining down. "I've got you!" Ryan shouted, shoving debris aside. His muscles screamed, but he didn't stop until she was free. He lifted her carefully, carrying her toward daylight. The girls screamed, "Mommy," and ran to her side. The woman's lips trembled. You saved me." Ryan just shook his head, catching his breath. "No, ma'am. Just did what anyone should have done." But deep down, they both knew, not everyone would have stopped. The harsh fluorescent lights buzzed softly above the small hospital room. Ryan sat on a plastic chair, dust still clinging to his clothes, his knuckles scraped from the rescue. Outside, through the glass, he could see the 2 little girls, Sophie and Grace, fast asleep on a waiting bench, their small hands still clutching that soot-stained rabbit. When the doctor stepped out, Ryan stood immediately. "She's going to be all right," the man said, adjusting his glasses. "Exhaustion, smoke inhalation, but she's lucky. You got her here in time." Ryan nodded, relief softening the lines on his face. "Can I see her?" Inside the dim room, Emily Carter lay pale against the pillow, an oxygen tube beneath her nose. Her eyes fluttered open, searching. When she saw him, something in her expression changed, the panic drained, replaced by gratitude that went deeper than words. "You stayed," she whispered, her voice rough. "Didn't feel right to leave your girls alone." He smiled faintly. "They're outside. Safe. Brave, too." Tears filled her eyes. "I thought I was going to die in there. You just appeared." Ryan shrugged, embarrassed. "Guess I was on the right street at the right time." Silence stretched between them, gentle, heavy. Then Emily asked quietly, "Do you have kids?" "Yeah. My boy, Ben. He's 8. Thinks I can fix anything." He smiled at the memory. But tonight proved maybe he's wrong about that. Emily managed a weak laugh, the first since the accident. "He's not wrong," she whispered. "You fixed everything for me tonight." Ryan looked down, his hands tightening around his cap. "Just did what anyone would have done." But as he glanced toward the hallway, where the 2 girls slept under flickering lights, he knew that wasn't true, and neither of them would ever forget this night. 3 days later, Ryan's doorbell rang just as he was sanding a cabinet for a client. Ben peeked out from the kitchen, powdered sugar on his cheeks from the donuts his dad had brought home that morning. I'll get it, the boy said, sprinting to the door. Ryan followed, wiping his hands on a rag, and froze. On his worn-out porch stood Emily Carter, dressed simply in jeans and a cream-colored sweater, her arms still in a sling. Beside her were Sophie and Grace, each holding a bouquet of wildflowers wrapped in tissue paper. "Miss Carter," Ryan said, startled. "What are you?" "We wanted to thank you," Emily interrupted softly. "Properly this time." The girls stepped forward shyly. "Mommy said heroes get flowers," Grace murmured, handing him the bunch. The gesture caught him off guard. His throat tightened. He crouched down, meeting their eyes. "Then I guess I'll have to build a special place to keep them." Emily smiled, a faint, tired smile that still managed to warm the cold edges of his small living room. "You didn't have to stay that night. The doctors told me you waited until they were sure I'd wake up." Ryan shrugged, uncomfortable under her gaze. "Didn't feel right leaving before knowing you were okay." She glanced past him at Ben, who waved from behind the couch. "Your son's adorable," she said. "Reminds me of my girls, always curious, always watching." Ryan chuckled. "Yeah, he watches everything. Even how I forget to breathe sometimes." Her smile faded into something quieter, deeper. "You really saved us, Ryan. I don't just mean from the accident. You gave me back something I thought I'd lost, trust." He didn't know what to say. The silence between them wasn't awkward, though, it felt honest. Before she left, Emily hesitated on the porch. "I own the warehouse where it happened. Carter Freight. My company failed you that night. The least I can do is repay you somehow." Ryan shook his head gently. "You don't owe me a thing, ma'am. You being safe, that's enough." As she walked down the path, her daughter skipping ahead, Emily turned back once more. "Maybe I'll find another way to thank you, then." Ryan watched her go, heart steady but restless. Somehow, he knew this wasn't the last time their paths would cross. A week passed. The days fell back into rhythm, early mornings, long hours, quiet dinners with Ben at their small kitchen table. Yet every night, Ryan found his thoughts drifting back to that moment on the porch, Emily's calm voice, the look in her eyes when she said he'd given her back her trust. He told himself it was nothing. Just gratitude. But still, he caught himself glancing at the phone sometimes, as if expecting it to ring. Then, one rainy Friday afternoon, it did. "Mr. Cooper." The voice was soft, familiar. Ryan paused mid-swipe of his sawdust-covered hands. "Emily. I hope I'm not intruding. I have a favor to ask. And maybe an idea you'll think I'm crazy for." 20 minutes later, her car, a modest silver sedan this time, pulled up outside his shop. She stepped out, holding a stack of papers in a folder. Her girls waited inside, faces pressed to the window, waving. Ryan smiled despite himself. "You sure you should be driving so soon after?" "I'm fine," she said, though the stiffness in her movements told a different story. "I came to ask for your help, not just for me, for others." She handed him the folder. Inside were sketches, homes, parks, shelters, each labeled with handwritten notes, "Community Rebuild Initiative." "It's something I've been wanting to do for years," she said. "Fix the neighborhoods our company neglected. Give back. But I don't want suits or architects leading it. I want someone real. Someone like you." Ryan blinked, taken aback. "Me? You've built more than furniture, Ryan. You've built hope, and that's something money can't teach." He shook his head slowly. "I'm a carpenter, Emily. I fix things. I'm not." She stepped closer, her tone firm but kind. "Exactly. You fix things. That's what people need most right now." He looked down at the sketches again, at the thought and heart behind each line. "What would this mean?" he asked finally. It means a steady salary, full creative control, and a chance to build something that matters, for everyone. Ryan hesitated. Ben's school fees, the overdue rent, the never-ending bills, they all flashed through his mind. Then, slowly, he nodded. When do we start? Emily smiled, the kind that wasn't for show. Monday morning. And Ryan? Yeah. I think you just said yes to changing a lot more than wood and nails. Monday came with sunlight and the scent of wet pavement. Ryan pulled his old truck into the lot of a worn-down community center, their first project. The building leaned like it had given up years ago, windows cracked, walls scrawled with faded graffiti. Emily stood near the entrance in a simple blazer and jeans, her daughters playing hopscotch on the sidewalk. She looked less like a CEO today, more like a mom trying to do something that mattered. You actually showed up, she said, smiling as he stepped out of the truck. Ryan chuckled. You said there'd be coffee. She handed him a paper cup. Strong enough to wake the dead. You'll need it. They walked the perimeter together as Ryan scribbled notes in a small notepad. Foundations cracked, he said, crouching to check the corner. Roofs shot. But the bones are good. It can stand again. Emily looked around, the wind tugging at her hair. Kind of like most of us, huh? Ryan met her eyes, and for a heartbeat, neither spoke. Then the sound of laughter broke the silence. Sophie and Grace were showing Ben how to draw chalk stars on the concrete. Guess they're already making it home, Ryan murmured. The next hours passed in a blur of hammers, blueprints, and coffee refills. Ryan guided volunteers, laid-off workers, retirees, single parents, teaching them how to rebuild step by step. Emily stayed close, not afraid to get her hands dirty. At one point, she climbed a ladder beside him, steadying a panel of wood. I haven't done this since I was a teenager, she said. My dad used to make me help him fix things around the house. Ryan smiled faintly. Guess he taught you well. You haven't fallen off yet. She laughed, really laughed, and for the first time since he'd met her, it wasn't the laugh of someone keeping up appearances. It was real. By sunset, the first wall stood straight and strong again. The crowd of volunteers cheered. Emily looked at the structure with misty eyes. You did this, she said quietly. No, Ryan replied. We did. The light caught her face just right, warm and golden, and for a brief second Ryan felt something shift, not just in the building, but in both of them. By the end of the second week, the old community center was slowly turning into something alive again, laughter echoing where silence had ruled for years. Every morning Ryan arrived early, and every evening Emily stayed late, pretending to check budgets while secretly watching the way he worked with people, calm, patient, never seeking credit. One evening, after the volunteers had gone home, Ryan found her sitting alone on the unfinished steps, rubbing sawdust from her palms. The golden light through the half-repaired windows painted her face soft and tired. You ever stop to breathe? He asked, sitting beside her. She smiled faintly. If I stop, everything falls apart. He leaned back, studying her. You know, that's not how rebuilding works. You have to let things rest sometimes, even the strong ones. Emily stared at the floor. My father didn't believe in resting, she said finally. He built the company from nothing, and I spent my whole life trying to live up to that. When he died, everyone assumed I could handle it. But the truth is, I couldn't. Ryan didn't interrupt. He just listened, the way only someone who's known pain learns to listen. My husband left a year later, she continued quietly. Said I was too focused on work, too cold. Maybe he was right. After that, it was just me and the girls. She exhaled, a shaky breath that sounded like years of pressure being released. Then the accident happened, and for the first time, I thought maybe I wasn't meant to be strong at all. Ryan's gaze softened. Being strong doesn't mean never falling, Emily. It means getting back up when you do. She looked at him, really looked, and something unspoken passed between them. The kind of understanding that doesn't need words. From across the lot, Ben's laughter rang out as he chased Sophie and Grace through puddles. Emily's lips curved into a small, wistful smile. "You're good with people," she said softly. "Good with hearts, even the broken ones." Ryan shrugged, embarrassed. "Guess it comes from fixing too many things that were left out in the rain." Emily's eyes glistened. "Then maybe that's exactly why I needed you here." For a long time, they sat side by side as the sun slipped behind the skyline, two people quietly realizing they were helping rebuild far more than a building. The weeks that followed blurred into something Ryan hadn't felt in years: purpose. Every swing of his hammer, every beam lifted into place seemed to pull him further from the weight of old regrets. But success, he'd learned, always drew attention. By the fourth week, the Carter Rebuild Project had made headlines. Local news crews filmed the progress, calling it a community miracle. Volunteers poured in, donations doubled, and suddenly, the quiet carpenter found himself standing beside a CEO in front of cameras. Emily handled it with practiced grace, thanking her sponsors. But when one reporter asked, "Miss Carter, who's this mystery man leading the work?" her smile faltered slightly. Ryan stepped forward before she could answer. "Just a carpenter," he said with a small grin. "One who believes good things can still be built with honest hands." The crew chuckled, but later that night, as the site cleared out, Emily found him packing his tools in silence. "You don't like the spotlight, do you?" she asked gently. Ryan shook his head. "Never did. I build things. I don't sell them." She studied him. "You do realize people are talking about you, right? About us?" He met her gaze, puzzled. "What kind of talk?" "The kind that makes board members nervous," she admitted. "They think you're a distraction." Ryan laughed under his breath. "A distraction? Emily, I fix fences and patch drywall. I'm not a scandal." Her voice softened. "You're more than that, Ryan. That's the problem, they see it too." For a moment, neither spoke. The hum of distant traffic filled the quiet lot. Then she stepped closer, her tone low. "They don't understand that what we're doing here isn't about image. It's about heart. And you remind me why I started this in the first place." Ryan swallowed, uncertain what to do with the warmth that rose in his chest. "Emily. I don't want to make trouble for you." She smiled faintly. "You already did, the best kind." As she walked toward her car, her daughters ran up, waving goodnight to Ben. Their laughter echoed through the street, light and honest, proof that not every rumor carried poison. Ryan watched Emily drive away, her taillights fading into the dark. He couldn't name what he felt, but he knew this: whatever had begun between them, it wasn't just gratitude anymore. The first crack came quietly, a phone call that changed the air in the room. Emily stood by the half-painted wall of the community center, her knuckles white around her phone. Ryan was across the hall, helping Ben and the girls paint, when he heard her voice rise, sharp, unfamiliar. "Don't you dare question my integrity, Robert," she snapped. "You weren't there when people needed help." He was. Ryan froze mid-stroke. He didn't have to ask who he was. When she ended the call, Emily's shoulders dropped. The confidence she always carried, the calm CEO poise, was gone. Ryan set down the roller and walked over. "Everything okay?" She hesitated, then sighed. "That was the board. They're threatening to suspend funding if I don't cut ties with the project, and with you." Ryan blinked. "With me? Why?" She looked up at him, eyes full of frustration and something deeper. "Because they think this," she gestured between them, "looks unprofessional. That it's too personal." Ryan's jaw tightened. We're fixing roofs and walls, Emily. That's all. Her voice broke slightly. You know it's not just that. The silence between them was heavy, charged. He took a step closer, lowering his tone. Then what is it? Her breath caught. It's what they'll never understand, that someone like you could remind me what honesty looks like again. That you care about people, not profit. He frowned. And that's a bad thing. It is when they see kindness as weakness. Ryan looked away, jaw clenched. If me being here costs you your company, I'll walk. I've lost enough in my life, I won't be the reason you lose yours. Emily shook her head, tears welling. Don't you get it? You're the reason I found myself again. Her words hit him harder than he expected. For a moment, the world seemed smaller, just her voice, her trembling hands, and the quiet hum of rain against the windows. Finally, Ryan spoke. If we're going to fight this, we fight it together. I won't let them tear down something worth building. Emily stared at him, stunned, then nodded slowly. Together. Outside, thunder rolled across the skyline, and Ryan knew the storm ahead wouldn't be about the weather this time. The storm hit on a Thursday, not from the sky, but from the press. Ryan woke to his phone buzzing non-stop. Headlines flashed across the screen. CEO's secret project under fire. Carter rebuild scandal, carpenter or companion. By the time he reached the worksite, reporters were already there, shouting questions through the fence. Mr. Cooper. Are you and Miss Carter involved? Did she hire you personally? Is the project just a cover-up for favoritism? Ryan's stomach twisted. Emily stood in front of the crowd, her usual calm shattered under the flashing lights. The board had already arrived, suits, umbrellas, and cold eyes. He stepped out of his truck, wiping his hands on his jeans. Enough, he said firmly, pushing through the line of microphones. You want answers? You talk to me. The cameras turned toward him. The moment felt too big for the kind of man he was, a man who'd spent his life fixing floors and fences, not reputations. But he didn't flinch. I'm not here for fame or money, he said, voice steady. Emily Carter didn't hire me because of anything other than honesty. This project isn't about headlines, it's about rebuilding homes for families who lost everything. That's all. If anyone wants to see what we're doing, grab a hammer instead of a camera. A hush fell. Even the rain seemed to pause. Emily looked at him, eyes wide, stunned, and for the first time in weeks, she smiled. Not the kind of smile that hides behind control, but one that says finally, someone understands. But the board wasn't moved. Robert, the lead investor, stepped forward. Your speech doesn't change numbers, Mr. Cooper. The project bleeds money, and your involvement has turned it into a liability. Ryan met his glare head-on. Funny thing about liabilities, he said. Sometimes they're just people no one believed in yet. Robert's face hardened. Miss Carter, either you end this partnership, or we end our support. Emily's lips parted, trembling slightly. You'd risk the one project that actually helps people. The man shrugged. We protect what's profitable, not sentimental. Ryan stepped back, ready to take the fall for her, but Emily's voice cut through the air like a blade. Then maybe I've been protecting the wrong thing all along, she said coldly. If integrity costs me investors, so be it. We'll finish this without you. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Ryan looked at her, stunned. She just smiled faintly and whispered, guess we're really in this together now. Thunder cracked above them, and for the first time, Ryan didn't fear the storm, he stood right in it, beside her. The fallout came fast. By Monday morning, Emily's name was plastered across every business site in the city. Investors backed out, contracts froze, and for the first time in her career, the woman who'd always seemed untouchable stood on uncertain ground. But something unexpected happened, people showed up anyway. Families Ryan had helped before arrived with paint cans and old tools. Retirees who'd once worked for Carter Freight brought coffee and sandwiches. Even Ben's school friends came, carrying signs that read, "Keep building." The news cameras that once mocked them now captured something different, a movement. Emily stood on the steps of the half-finished center, hair pulled back, sleeves rolled up, her hands blistered from work. Ryan joined her, handing over a hammer. "Didn't think CEOs did manual labor," he teased. She smiled faintly. "Didn't think carpenters started revolutions." Together they worked until sunset, patching, painting, laughing through exhaustion. The building began to look alive again, not perfect, but honest. When the final nail went in, a cheer erupted from the crowd. Emily looked around, her eyes wet but shining. "Ryan," she said softly, "look at them. We didn't lose a company, we built a family." He smiled, resting his arm lightly on her shoulder. "Guess that's worth more than any paycheck." That night, as the city lights flickered on, they stood outside watching their children chase fireflies through the yard, Ben laughing with Sophie and Grace. The air smelled of rain and sawdust, the kind of scent that only comes when something broken has been made whole again. Emily turned to him, voice barely above a whisper. "Before you showed up, I thought strength meant never needing help. But you reminded me it means standing back up, together." Ryan met her gaze, calm and steady. "Sometimes fixing one fence mends a lot more than wood." She laughed softly, and for the first time in years, it sounded free. The lights of the new center glowed behind them, warm and golden, a promise that kindness, no matter how small, could rebuild anything. As the children's laughter echoed into the night, Ryan took Emily's hand and said quietly, "Guess we both found home again." And for once, there was nothing left to fix, only to keep building. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe for more stories that stay with you.